Hello and welcome back to the kitchen and welcome back to Cooking with Rev. I'm Rev and today we're making hobo dinners. What's a hobo dinner? Well, wait and see. Alright, so for our hobo dinners we are going to need roughly a pound of ground beef, a Polish kielbasa or smoked sausage, whatever you have available. You will also need 1 onion, 1 green bell pepper, some small corn on the cobs, a bag of baby carrots, a roll of aluminum foil, some butter, and some basic seasoning. Salt, pepper, I'm going to use a little bit of cumin, some onion powder, garlic powder, some Italian seasoning, and this stuff is called Regis All Natural Pure Seasoning. Something my mother tried one time and liked. She wants me to put it in this, so that's going in too. I was also going to add a small jar, probably about the size of one of these corn cobs here, of mushrooms, but I couldn't find those in the store, so no mushrooms in this one. Basically, you can add anything you want to this, whatever meat you got. I've got a chicken breast in the fridge that I could chop up and put in this as well. But for the most part, here are your ingredients. Okay, so our first step here at the cutting board is we're going to cut up our kielbasa because it's probably the easiest one to do. So what all you want to do with this, easy open my ass. So what you want to do with this is open up the package, pull out your kielbasa, dicks out for Harambe or whatever, and you basically just want to cut it in half there. So now you got 2 parts, and then you kind of want to judge where the middle is, give it another cut. So now we have 4 roughly equal pieces here, because we're going to make 4 of these because that's how many ingredients I have. Alright, so we're going to end up cutting these up, but I want to keep them segregated for each one. I don't want to add too much to one and not enough to another. So we're going to cut these up like so. So that's our first one. Then we're just going to kind of separate our second one over here. Cut them to whatever length you want. Roughly that big is fine. Okay, so that's our second one up there. First one down there. Bring that one over here, and our final one. If you want to wait and cut these up individually as you're putting together the actual packs, you can do that too. That's up to you. So there's our final one. Set him aside there. Now, since we got the cutting board out, let's go ahead and take our ground beef. Again, this is roughly 1 pound. Go ahead and dump it on the cutting board there, if we can. Come on, there we go. So get all your little bits here of ground beef, and what you want to do is form this into one kind of equally proportioned mass here. Flatten it out a bit. All these sausages are in the way. There we go. Flip it, because there's a lot of fat in this one. What the hell? So you just want to get it all nice and incorporated into one solid piece like so. Now we're going to flatten it out a bit, as evenly as we possibly can. This fucking meat does not want to cooperate. Alright, so then we're basically going to quarter this. So if you figure that's half, maybe. The knife wants to stop fighting with me. Then we're going to go once more this way. Alright. So there we have quarter there, quarter there, quarter there, and a quarter there. And you want to take each of your quarters and kind of pad them out into a patty. You're not going to get much out of this, but that's okay. Set them aside. That one seems a little light. Alright, so there's our burger patties. Probably should have chopped up the vegetables first, but that's okay. Alright, so there we got those. Alright, so now I'm going to grab a plate to put all these on. But again, we do kind of want to keep them segregated from each other so we don't have too much going on here. Alright, so there's that. And then we can take our sausages and pile them, well, yeah, we'll do this. One in between each one. Try to keep them back a bit. You don't really need to do this step, just figure out a way to separate them so you have equal amounts for each one that you're doing. I'm doing this because I need the cutting board again in a second. And I'll show you why as soon as I do this. Okay, so you got one patty, one sausage, one patty, one sausage, one patty, one sausage, one patty, one sausage. Alright, so we're going to set that aside. We're going to rinse off our cutting board. Like I said, I do got a chicken breast I could cut up and put in this, but I'm not going to. It's already got enough meat. Alright, next, let's go with our bell pepper. Now, I don't think I've ever used a bell pepper before in one of these recipes, so I'm going to show you how to cut it up, or at least how I like to cut them. So first thing I do is I saw off about a little bit of the bottom, like so. Just so it stand up straight. Turn it over, do the same thing on the top. Just enough to cut the stem off of the top is what you're looking for. So as you can see, there was the stem. So now we're left with this. Now use your fingers, reach in here, and rip the bastard's heart out. Just like that. Turn it over, same thing. Reach in there, rip that bastard's heart out. Just like that. Okay. Now, take your knife, watch your fingers, and you're just going to cut down this edge like so, so you can open it up like that. Now what you want to do, very carefully, you're just going to slide your knife across the edge here and get rid of that big thick white membrane. There's should be about 4 of them. There's one right here, like so. Again, be very careful. Try to cut away from yourself if you can, but watch your fingers. So one more here. There's that. And then there's these little bits here on the edge. So just, again, you kind of want to lay your knife flat and just kind of saw it across, and you'll cut right underneath the part that you want to cut. So just, this one actually I can just chop the edge off. Alright. And then we have a perfectly clean and de-seeded pepper. Now, oops, forgot to take the sticker off. Very important to take any stickers off of your vegetables and fruits. Alright. Now we can kind of see roughly where the edges were. So you want to cut basically about center. There's one. Cut that one about center. So there's 2. And cut this one roughly center. So there's 3. They're not going to be equal size. That's okay. But again, we're going to use 1/4 of this in each thing. So we're going to make thin slices this way. Like so. And then give it a turn and chop like about like so. That's all the pepper we're going to need in each one. So I'm going to set these aside with the sausages and whatnot. And I'm going to cut up the rest of these, and then I'll be back with the next thing. Alright, and there you can see I've added our chopped up green peppers to the plate. Again, you can use multiple plates if you want. I'm trying not to dirty too many dishes here. Next up, corn's pretty self-explanatory. You get about 6 to 8 in a pack. This one has 8, so I'm just going to use 2 full ones in each. So I'm not going to worry about that just yet. The baby carrots, we're just going to use basically 1/4 of the bag each, so basically about a handful. And I just noticed these, I had these stored in the freezer for some reason. I think the corn was originally in the freezer at the store, so I threw it back in the freezer. And I guess this was in the bag with it. And now that they've thawed, they're a little bit mushy. That's alright though. They're still fine. Probably best to store these in the fridge until you're ready to use them as opposed to the freezer, but they're going to get soft once we cook them anyway. So that's the corn and carrots. Next up, our onion, our good old friend onion. You guys have seen me cut an onion 100 times. Well, I'm going to do it slightly different this time. Cut off the top and bottom nubs, as usual. Peel off that outer layer of skin, like so. And now we're going to cut the onion that way and that way. So again, we have quarters because we're doing 4 of these. Simple math, right? Now we're not just going to throw the whole onion in just like that. We are going to chop each one up individually. I'm just going to cut them this way. And then maybe once this way. I don't want real small diced up onions in this, about like that. Looks perfect. So now I'm going to try and separate these out onto the plate as well. Actually, I might grab a new plate for this. Just a small pile of onions there. And there's another ingredient I got to cut up that I forgot to take out of the fridge and show you guys at the start, but I'll get to that in just 1 second. So again, just going to cut these up. About like that. Those ones are actually kind of big. I probably should cut those up a little bit better, but that's okay. May I cut that first one too small instead of every other one too big? What do you guys think? Comments in the description, or in this. Let me know in the comment section. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, this one actually, when it shot apart like that, sprayed juice everywhere, so my eyes are watering now. So I'm going to try and get this done pretty quickly. So if I stop talking for a second, don't panic. Ooh, that one was rough. Again, if you got one of those chopper things like I have, that I showed you in the previous video, I believe it was, go ahead and use it. Just, like I said, when you quarter the onion and throw each one in, take a second to empty the canister at that time instead of trying to figure out how to portion it out afterwards. Alright, give those a cut. Give these a cut. And we're done. Alright. Set these aside. Alright, plate number 2 is sorted. Okay, so the final item that I need to cut up that I forgot to show you because I forgot to get it out of the fridge because it was in the bottom drawer is a couple potatoes. Or honestly, this one big potato would probably be more than enough for this, but I got 2, so I'm going to try and use them both. I'm going to cut up the bigger one first because if it gets to be too much, I won't use the second one. But I only got 2 potatoes, so why keep 2 of them around? You can peel this ahead of time if you want to. Usually in Hobo Dinners they don't. So basically what I'm going to do, cut it in half, and you can quarter it this way, or you can just do it this way again. I'm going to go ahead and do it lengthwise. You're not going to get a perfectly even center on it. That's okay. Yeah, I think these are going to be more than big enough. Alright, so then set each one aside because we got our quarters. The quarters I'm going to go ahead and cut in half again and kind of pull them back together and then just give them a small chop like so. Again, watch your fingers. You don't want to cut yourself. We don't want any accidents in our kitchen, do we? And that should be pretty good. So there's one. When you get down to that end, if you're having trouble holding it, let it fall and just kind of give it a chop. That's 2. Again, you can peel the potatoes if you don't like the skins, but usually in a hobo dinner they don't. Why is it called a hobo dinner? Well, because hobos used to make these, apparently. You know, out when they're riding the rails and whatnot. That's a hobo, right? Yeah. Uh, when they would get to different towns, they would kind of wander into a garden, you know, like a field of vegetables or like a field of corn or whatever, and they just kind of carefully pick, you know, a couple of each thing. You don't go crazy. You don't want your whole backpack weighted down with all these vegetables and stuff, but, you know, grab a couple ears of corn, grab a couple potatoes, a couple carrots or something, and then you chop them up and make this little dinner out of them. You know what? I think that's enough. I'm not going to use the second potato, so let me show you what we got here now. There's our onions and our potatoes. So again, we're separated 4 and 4. Alright, again, I already showed you what to do with the carrots and the corn, so I'm going to clean this up, get everything organized. I'm going to show you how to assemble it. By the way, preheat your oven to, I'm going to say about 375, and then I'll be back. Alright guys, so we're back. I got everything cleaned up here best I can. So now we're going to need our aluminum foil. By the way, in case you guys didn't know, on the sides of the aluminum foil there's actually little tabs here. You're supposed to press in like so. See that? There's one on each side like so. And that way, that locks the roll into place, so when you pull it out, you don't get the whole roll jumping out of the box. See, I'm shaking upside down, roll's still in there. So that's what those tabs are for on the side of the box, in case you didn't know. Because now you do. Okay, so we're going to take our aluminum foil. You want a fairly long sheet. Probably not quite your fully extended arms, like if you hold your arms out to your side, kind of like in a cross pose. You don't want it quite that long, so maybe like once you do that, tuck your elbows back into your side, about that length, maybe 2 feet. Alright, so you want to kind of position it, you want to position all your stuff to closer to the far side. I can't even tell what's going on with the lighting here. Let's see if I can, no, it's going to make it worse. Alright, so you want to kind of be towards the side. As you can see, here's the edge. I want to be right about here. So what we want to do first, this was probably a bad idea to put all these on the same plate. We want to take one of our beef patties, if I can get to it. Take one of your beef patties, put it in the center just like that. Grab your handful of sausage. Throw it in just like that. You're going to get a couple of your peppers with it. If you did it the way I did it, that's alright. Next, go ahead and grab them peppers too, since you're right there. Throw those in. Now if you got enough counter space and you want to set these aluminum foil sheets out ahead of time, you don't need to separate everything out onto different plates like I did. You can just do them right into the batch. Take a couple of our corns, pop those kind of one on each side, some way, like maybe that, whatever. Grab our onion. Onion goes in there, just like that. And while you're here, you might as well go ahead and grab one of them potatoes, because you're probably going to get a few of those anyway, like so. The rest of our onion there, like so. And a handful or so of our baby carrots, like so. About a quarter of the bag if you can. If you can't, don't panic, it's fine. Alright, so there we have that. Am I missing anything? Meat, sausage, pepper, onion, potatoes, corn, carrots, right? Alright, now, oven's ready to go. You want to take your butter. You want to take about a tablespoon. You want to get a nice heaping tablespoon like so. Put it right on top of everything, just like that. That's good. Now, you want to go ahead and hit it with your seasonings. So I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt. Boom. A little bit of pepper. Boom. Just like that. Was going to add a little bit of cumin to the meat level. Screw it. We'll throw a little bit on over top of everything. It's going to be fine. Don't overdo it with the cumin if you can avoid it. A little bit of, what was that, onion powder. Not too much on the onion powder because you got onions in it. A little bit of garlic. Oops. Oh, there was another ingredient too. Even though I just added the garlic powder, I have this jar of minced garlic in the fridge from whatever I made before. I'm going to get a teaspoon this time, not a tablespoon. Just drop a teaspoon of minced garlic in there. Ain't going to hurt nobody. Next up, throw in some Italian seasoning, because why not? Give all your nice herbs in there. And now we're going to hit it with this Regis stuff. If you don't have Regis, don't worry about it. You don't need it. It's just something my mom asked me to try using because we haven't had it for a while. And there you have it. So now I'm going to throw in another kicker because I was going to show you this at the beginning too. Just a little bit of our Parmesan cheese. Not too much. You don't want it too cheesy. But we're going to add a little bit just for the flavor. Whatever you got laying around basically. You can throw anything in these. So just a little drizzle. Parmesan just like that. Right. Now I'm going to have trouble doing this because of the angle that I'm on. But basically, got all this stuff way too close to this edge. So kind of get it rolled up to the center if you can, like so. Now what you want to do is kind of pull the foil all the way over top of everything. Grab that edge and tuck it back a little bit because you want to form a nice tight seal here. You don't want any air pockets because air pockets can cause problems. And then you just want to carefully, keeping everything into the pack that you can, give it a nice tight roll. If anything falls out of the side, that's alright. Usually you wouldn't have quite this much in your hobo dinner. And then you kind of want to try and seal off the sides the best you can. If you need a second roll of tin foil, go for it. It's not going to hurt anybody. I'm going to go to about there. And now I'm going to put it in this way. And we're going to fold this over the edges that are open, just because we don't want anything escaping. Press that down and fold this over like so. Give it a nice roll. So there you basically got this nice giant hoagie. They're not supposed to be hoagie shaped, they're actually supposed to be a little bit more square, but there's a lot of crap in here. So we're going to do this 3 more times, and then I'll show you what to do with it after that. Okay guys, so I got the second one ready to go here, and this time what I'm going to do before I try and roll it is I'm going to go ahead and fold the corners in like so. That'll help prevent all that crap from falling out of the side like what happened last time. And then we're just going to fold the ends kind of over onto themselves like this. Again, just trying to make kind of a little pocket here. And then we're just going to wrap it up in the second sheet going the other way. So just want to show you a different method you can do it so you don't end up with that giant hoagie like I did. Because how spaced out everything is, I'm not 100% sure that one's going to cook right. So I'm just going to wrap this one up like so in a second sheet of foil. Again, you want to try to avoid any air pockets, so you want to roll it as tight as you can. Mainly you want to keep all the juices in as they're cooking, but you don't want any air pockets because air pockets can cause the foil to expand and explode, and then you got a mess all over your stove. So it's supposed to look a little bit more like that, as opposed to the hoagie. But I'm hoping the hoagie turns out okay. That'll probably be mine. So there you have your 2 differences. However you want to wrap them, just make sure they're kind of airtight and there's nothing leaking out of them. Alright, I'm going to do the other 2 and then I'll be back. Alright guys, so one other thing I forgot now that I'm wrapping up the third one. Add a little dash of Worcestershire sauce if you got it. Not too much, just a little bit. Helps add the flavor. So I'm going to have 2 with, 2 without, because I don't think my mom likes Worcestershire sauce that much. but honestly I doubt she'll know if she even gets it. Here are my 4 packets. There's 3, and of course the hoagie that we started with. Our oven is done preheating, so we're going to throw this in the oven, but we don't want to just put it in the oven the way it is. You can, but if the juices leak, they're going to go everywhere. So you want to get some type of tray to put it on. That one might work. Actually, no, I don't want to use that one. You know what? I am going to use this one and another one because I'm going to put 2 on each one, I think. So kind of like that. That way if the juices run, they're going into this pan. Let's see if I got another one of these. Alright, I'm going to end up using our broiling pan from before, just without the broil tray. And I'll put the other 2. This one actually does have a bit of a deeper well. That way if it does leak, it's fine. I'm going to lay them this way. That way that one, big one fits. Alright, now we're going to pop these in the oven about 20 minutes, flip them over another 20 minutes, then they should be good to go. So let's pop these in the oven and see what we end up with. Also, one more thing is if you have something with raised sides, that might actually be better to use as opposed to just a flat cookie sheet like I'm using, because it'll help trap the juices that do leak out. But hopefully we don't have a lot leaking out and we don't have to worry about that. But we'll see where it goes, because as you saw in the previous video, this hamburger I'm using is quite a bit more fatty and not sure what's going to happen. Alright, we'll see you in 20. Alright guys, it's been about 20 minutes. Let's take a look and see how we're doing here. Everything's looking good. There's no juices running out, so that's a good sign. Means we got a nice good seal. I'm going to flip all these over onto their other sides and we'll let it cook another 20 minutes and then they should be about ready. Alright guys, so it's been another 20 minutes on the second side. You can hear a little bit of a sizzle, which is what we want. That's good. When I flipped them, the hoagie one did leak a little bit of juice, but that was the only one. The rest are looking pretty good. But just to be safe, I'm going to turn these one more time and let them cook about 10 more minutes on the other side. Ow, that one's hot. Use a pot holder if you can. Don't just do this with your hands like me. I don't have an oven mitt, but yeah, they're definitely... Okay, there's that. Ooh, that actually smells pretty damn good too. Then we're going to try to hit these 2. I am insane. Do not stick your hands in the oven and handle tin foil. And one more. Just like that. Boom. Alright. I got to shove those back in there. Give them about 10 more minutes. Flipping them over, the juices that are inside, it lets them... They pool in the bottom and cook, and then as you flip them, it drains them back to the other side and allows them to cook the other side. Because it had just started heating up and I wasn't really hearing that sizzle the first time I cooked them, is the reason I'm going to give it 10 more minutes on this side. But you can hear them sizzling, which means it is doing good. Everything's coming along nicely. So we're going to let those cook another 10 minutes and I'll be back. Okay, and we're back, and it's been another 10 minutes. As you can hear, there's not much sizzle left, so we're going to go ahead and pull these out. We're going to set them up here on top of the stove. There you can see a little bit of juice coming out. Not too much. Not too many leaks, not too bad. But now you can see why, that little bit of juice right there, why you would want to put a pan under these. We're going to turn off our oven. Now we're going to let these rest for about 10 minutes before we actually open them, because you don't want all that hot juice splattering all over you and causing serious burns. So we're going to let these sit for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be back to cut them open. Before we go away, traditionally these would not be cooked in the oven because hobos don't have ovens. They would be cooked in a fire pit. Hobos usually, like I said, would go around into whatever gardens they happen to pass by and grab a handful or 2 of whatever vegetables, you know. Not enough to where anyone noticed, but like break off an ear of corn or 2, you know, grab a couple potatoes, grab a couple carrots. You don't want to load down your backpack with stuff, but you want to have enough to make at least a couple meals out of it. They would basically build a fire for the night to keep warm, and then they would kind of take some of the hot coals out of the fire and kind of set them aside a little bit, still in the fire pit, but not on fire, just kind of that nice glowing red, the smoldering ash. And they would stick these on top of there, let them cook about 10-15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, turn them over, let the other side cook, and then that would be their dinner for the night. Because we're using an oven, it's kind of hard to guess temperature and stuff, so most things are cooked between 350 and 400, so I cut the difference and made it 375 for 20 minutes on each side. Hopefully it's not overdone, hopefully it's not underdone. We'll find out in 10 minutes after these have a chance to rest for a minute. Let the gravy coagulate a little bit so it's not all hot and everything. Let it cool down so it's a little bit cooler to the touch. Because the good thing about aluminum foil is it transfers heat real well, but it also cools down real fast. Don't do that, by the way, that was a little warm. I have a very high tolerance for pain. I can usually reach into the oven and pull a pan out and set it down real quick without feeling it. If I hold it for too long, I definitely feel it though. So yeah, don't be like me. Use proper protection. And that goes in all avenues, by the way. So we're going to let these rest for 10 minutes. We'll be back. We'll cut one open and see what kind of mess we have inside. Alright guys, so it's been 10 minutes. Here's our cooled pack on a plate. As you can see, it's still a little warm. And again, I don't know which side is up because I flipped these. These actually should be the right side upside. So the beef should be on the bottom. So now what you're going to do is take your knife from earlier, and you're just going to puncture a nice little slot right along like that. Be very careful. See all the steam escaping from it. Then you just kind of want to give it a push and rip it open just like that. And there we go. There is your nice, delicious, boiled or cooked hobo dinner. Now I'm not going to move over to the table and let you guys see me eat this because I got to wrap up a couple other things before my mom gets home, and she should be home in like 10 minutes. But I did want to show it to you guys what it looks like finished. I am going to try one of the carrots just because they were a little mush coming out of the fridge. As you can see, they are a little bit rubbery. But let's give them a taste and see how they are. Yeah, they're not bad. Not as good as they probably could have been, but not bad. The other thing you want to do is get down in here to your meat and kind of crack it open a little bit, make sure it's not still pink inside, which it's not. So there we go, that's dinner. Like I said, my mom should be home in about 10 minutes, so hers is all ready to go. There is some juice down on the bottom here. I don't know if you can see it pooling underneath the corn there. But yeah, be very careful. You can dump this out onto a plate if you want, just so it's easier to get to. A lot of people just eat it right out of the foil like that, just so they don't get the juice everywhere. It's up to you. I would recommend maybe some type of a hybrid plate bowl like I have if you're going to dump it out. That way all the juice piles, or that way all the juice pools instead of spilling off the edges of your plate. But again, that's up to you. Alright guys, there you have it. Another episode of Get Cooking with Rev in the books, or on the internet, whatever you want to call it. Made hobo dinners tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you guys try this meal, let me know what you think down in the comments section. Send me pictures of your food. I like looking at pictures of other people's foods. If you have a suggestion for this, go ahead and let me know. Oh, one thing I didn't mention earlier, I don't think. With the mushrooms, since I said I couldn't find any and couldn't show you guys that step. When you get the small can of mushrooms, like I said, it's only about yay big. And what you want to do is open that up and then just kind of place your fingers over the top of it and turn it over the sink. And all that juice that's inside there will run between the cracks in your finger without dumping the mushrooms everywhere. Then just dump them out onto a plate, count how many are there, and kind of section them out evenly. You might only get 2 or 3 mushrooms per pack, that's fine. Gives that a little bit of mushroom flavor. If you like more mushrooms, you can dice up whatever is going into each pack so it's a little bit more available. Or you can buy a second can, add a little bit more of them, and you'll get 4 to 6 per pack instead of 2 to 3 per pack. However you want to do it. If you want mushrooms, if you don't, you can put whatever in here. If you're like, hey, I don't have that spice that you used, don't use it. I just added it because it's what I have here in the house. You think hobos have garlic, salt, and all that stuff? No, they might have salt and pepper if they're lucky. Pretty much anything can go into this. Again, I have seen people ask other chefs who have made similar things like this where you put raw meat in the oven. Do you have to cook the meat first? No, you don't. It's not going to affect anything touching other stuff being uncooked. What you want is harder vegetables like the root vegetables like carrots and potatoes, because of how hard they are. That fat that cooks off of the meat as it browns softens and moistens the root vegetables, and the root vegetables absorb that grease, so there's not as much of it in the bottom of the pack when you're done, and it gives the vegetables more flavor. We add the butter basically just to get it started, just in case you don't have a real fatty cut of meat. You might not have the fat content you're looking for. Other meat you might have too much. Who knows? But basically, we add the butter just as an extra precaution, just in case the meat's a little on the dry side. But you want the raw meat to cook and render the fat, and that's what cooks your vegetables. And plus, any moisture that's in there steams out, and that also helps cook it. Like I said, try not to freeze your vegetables like my dumbass did, because it did make the carrots a little mushy. They are a little bit rubbery. But I'd rather have them rubbery than just falling apart mush. They still taste awesome. They still have a little bit of a crunch to them in the center, which is good. And they taste good. So if you end up with mushy carrots or mushy corn or whatever, don't panic. Just throw it in anyway. It'll cook fine. Honestly, I was going to make these yesterday when I first got all the stuff, so they would have been fresh from the grocery store. Fortunately, I got home and realized I forgot to buy the tin foil, so I had to go back today and get tin foil, and that's how they end up in the freezer. Yeah, overall, don't panic if you don't have something. Hobos didn't always have all the ingredients. If you don't have a pepper, you don't like peppers, don't put the pepper in it. The onions, even if you don't like onions, you want the onions in there basically for the moisture that's in the onions. That helps, again, like I said, steam the other vegetables, helps render the fat, things like that. You want some elements of moisture in there, which is what you get from the vegetables. If you don't like something, you can always pick it out. Like I said, I chopped mine up real small, so I shouldn't have to worry about large chunks of onion in mine. I probably won't even notice any. I notice there's a lot of that minced garlic floating right on top. Who cares? It's garlic. It's awesome. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, rate, subscribe, share the video. Links are down there in the description. And until next time, get cooking.